Thank you, PJ. It is, in fact, time for another edition of the Pair and a Spare podcast. I'm Justin Gard from KFAN, Chip Scoggins from the Minnesota Star Tribune, and from GopherGazette.com. He's the owner. Make sure you know that. He's the owner. Ryan Burns joins us. We are presented, as always, by our great partners at Jack's Cafe. Make your reservations at jaxcafe.com. Football season is upon us. We're a couple of weeks away from the first game. If you have yet to subscribe to this podcast, whether the audio form, please do, or the YouTube channel, which continues to grow, which I'm happy about, please do. Tell a Gopher fan friend in your life, tell a Big Ten football fan friend in your life that we're here. We'll be here every week, basically through January now, talking about college football. Good morning, everybody. How are we handling the final few days of summer?
It's nice that it's not ungodly hot out anymore, because for someone who is a sweater, it is. I enjoy 80 instead of 93 in corn sweat. I don't know about you, Chipper.
I'm more of a 90 degree if it's not that high humidity, but I'll take humidity too. I like the heat. I like the heat.
Well, we saw from your social media there, young man, that you started to gallivant up there on the North Shore. It's training camp. You wouldn't know it from Chip Scoggins' feed. Yeah. Whether the Vikings or the Gophers, because my boy has to go up there, gallivant around. And I've got even a little story for you, Chipper. After you start telling people where you were.
He doesn't even know. I don't think he even knows about this. That's the beauty of it.
Oh, wow. A story. Yeah.
I'm going, Burns, because I was going to go there as well, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, we go up every, my wife's family has a cabin in between Lutzen and Grand Marais. So we go up every August. Try to go. This was a short one. This was 48 hours. Our son's heading back to college, so it was a quick one. But we, I like to go up there. It typically falls when the Vikings have a road preseason game. I don't know why it does that, but that's when it typically does. And do some hiking, do angry trout for dinner, which I love. They have a dinner plate there. That's one of my favorites, and just kind of unplug a little bit, and no TV in the cabin. So we sit by a fire and have some Voyager beer and at night after long hikes. And it's always fun. What a great, I sound like a tourism guy here, but Grand Marais, if you haven't been up, check it out, because it's fabulous. Oh, we saw some, the first night up there, it was clear. So we saw some shooting stars. That was cool out on the rocks. We laid down on the rocks and looked up and saw the shooting stars. So was magical.
No such thing. You just had too much Devil's Kettle IPA. There's no such thing as shooting stars, Chip. I don't know.
Or whatever they're called. Yeah,
you were spinning. It was spinning. Yeah. There's no such thing as that.
I feel like I'm listening to a Hallmark movie at this point. Laying out there on the rocks with his wife, looking up at shooting stars.
The hikes were good. I had to work for the first one on Friday. It was a 4-miler that was a lot of uphill, so I earned that Devil's Kettle IPA that night.
Golly, Chip. So, Chip, to set the scene, because I think Guardia can read this a little bit better than I do. There was a famous person, Chip Scoggins sighting, from a Gopher Illustrated member that I want Guardia to read to you here.
It's GopherGazette.com now, Burnsy. All right, it's GopherGazette.com.
Look at you.
He doesn't even know what he owns.
So I like to I think the term is lurk, right, Burnsy? That's what I'm on GopherGazette.com's message board. VIP member, you're welcome, and I do pay. Burnsy doesn't give me a freebie, even though I give him more publicity. I basically work for him, but happy to pay and help out.
Not bitter about any of this, by the way, Chipper. Not bitter about any of this.
Happy to pay so I can, help Burnsy live in his wife's house. And I like to take the temperature of the fans and see, first of all, Burnsy's posting about this podcast, which is 50-50 at best, that he's promoted this content. See what the stories are to get caught up on some things. And the headline for this one, Chipper, was Chip Scoggins sighting on the North Shore? ? And I have to click on it, and I'll just read it. It's Josh. And sorry, Josh, you missed your moment. So I'm in Grand Marais Saturday night on a family trip up north, walking to dinner on the shore, and I swear I saw none other than Mr. Projects himself, Chip Scoggins, stroll past me with his entourage, family. We actually locked eyes for a split second. It was a surreal moment. I wanted to say something about cell phone percentage, online ordering, or creme brulee, but I froze and the moment was gone. I just need to know, Ryan Burns and Justin Gard, was this actually Chip Scoggins? And if so, did his Saturday night dinner in Grand Marais even come close to a Jack's Cafe dinner?
Wow.
Now, other people responded and said, yeah, that was Chip. He just posted about it like 10 minutes ago. He's been posting pictures of his hikes in the rocks. But you locked eyes with Josh.
Yeah, my bad, Josh. I wish I'd he would have said something. Yeah, we were I was with my wife and son and brother-in-law and his wife, who actually work up there. They own, I'll give them a plug. If you need a good massage, they have a wellness place there, right there in Grand Marais, right down from Voyager. Renowned massage therapist. So,
well, I like how you said you're giving directions like you need it. Like
there's only, I know.
Walk around the block and you'll find it.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to Josh, but yeah, it was a Grand Marais is magical. It's that weekend in August is always one of my favorite weekends.
Burns, do you spend much time up there?
Go ahead.
No, do you spend much time up there? And then you can go.
Chip.
What? No,
I'm talking to you, Burnsy. Do you spend much time up there? Yeah.
No. I've been there a couple times. The best part about Grand Marais for me is that it's like when the rest of the state is 90, because it's a south wind, it hits the lake. And so it's like 57 degrees up there, which,
yes,
if you're asking me what my ideal day would be, it's a high of 59 degrees with like a light northwest wind, where it's perfect for my favorite combination of clothing, which is a sweatshirt and shorts.
Yeah,
to open the windows in the house, get a little fresh air moving in there. Yeah, my wife might have to put on an extra sweatshirt or sweatpants, but you know what? We're all going to sleep really good that night. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, it was chilly up there on Saturday. Chilly. It was low 50, rain up there Saturday, but it is nice. You sleep with the windows open. You can hear the waves crashing on the rocks. Goodness, I slept soundly that night. Although I have found a new. My wife. Speaking of sleeping well, my wife taught me a new thing about. Have you heard legs on the wall?
No.
First of all, I need further context for whatever you and the missus were. What?
It's the yoga pose. It's the yoga pose that she found somewhere. It's called legs on the wall, and you lay on your back up against the wall, and you put your legs up on the wall.
It's making sense now.
And you do it like 5-10 minutes. It helps with, I guess, swelling and blood flow and relaxation. I've been doing that at night, man. You sleep great. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Try it. You got to Google it. It's called.
We're gonna need some video of that. We're gonna need some still shots.
It's called either legs up the wall or legs on the wall, something like that. But it's a yoga pose, and I've been doing it for like a week. Goodness gracious! Right before I go to bed, like I do like 5-10 minutes. Put the headphones on. I got yacht rock going. Legs up the wall, and you sleep like a baby. I promise you. Try it tonight.
Here's what I'm gonna say, Guardsy, is Chip's living his best life, and I'm gonna say, if this isn't me in my 50s, I don't want it. Chip, I appreciate you being vulnerable with us and the listeners. But because with between Darius Taylor talking to me about his pelvic floor and Pilates,
exactly,
and now Chip asking me about legs up on the wall, it's been an off season full of things I didn't think I was going to hear people say, but I'm glad that I did hear them say it, Guardsy.
I'm just here for self-improvement. I'm here to help you.
Seriously. Yeah, you're a guru. This is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I might try it while you guys are talking about the Big Ten Network tour. I might just put the headset down and go over to my wall over here. I why wait? Do I have to wait until tonight? That's what I would say.
You can do it anytime. You can do it, but I do find you can do it in silence. But I like to have a little, yacht rock, a little kind of ambience music, and then you just kind of turn your brain off and your legs are up the wall. You're upside down. It's perfect. I'm not kidding. It works.
Well, we believe you. we definitely believe you. I've never heard someone so passionate about something in my life. This is tremendous.
We're still learning things about each other after all these years. And look, it's not about the destination, Chipper. It's about the journey. So I appreciate the stops along the side.
I can't wait till we're at the first game against Eastern Illinois. It's like 5:30. We're going through the food line. You look down, there's Chip. I got to get my legs on the wall. Didn't do it last night. It's a late kickoff. I got to get it done. Turn on my Yacht Rock. This Wi-Fi in here sucks. I can't get my Spotify. I can't do it. You're right,
This is
though.
among my favorite tangents in the history of this program.
I'm just glad we let him talk and get it out. You know, I was ready to move on, but I'm glad we talked about it. Yeah, Grand Marais great, though. You're right. North Shore is great. There's nothing like a North Shore morning when it's like 57 degrees with a little mist. I mean, that's as good. It's as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets. And I didn't even know about it until like 15 years ago. That'll shock no one that this, suburbanite never ventured up to the North Shore with his family. I went to Lutzen for church camp like twice, and that was about it. Knew nothing about anything. And yeah, we're trying to sneak it. We're trying to sneak in a night or two up there in the next 2 weeks. We're trying to figure out if we can make that work because it is.
Do it before the kids go to school.
Great.
You got to do it. Yeah.
I know. Well, and we'll do family legs on the wall. It'll be a good bonding experience. Maybe it'll help them sleep so they don't come into my room at 3 a.m. every single night. We're going to start doing legs on the wall instead of watching TV before bed. All right, man, it might have to be a new t-shirt. Speaking, the amount of things Chip has brought to this between the charging, the online ordering, and now legs on a wall. I never thought Chip would be the one that would be parodied so much. I really didn't, but here we go. I love it. Speaking of TV, Big Ten Network was here, Bernsey.
They were.
And I popped in on some of it. You can find it, by the way, if you missed it. The annual camp tour. How about those guys, by the way? The 18 stops. I don't know if they make all 18. They might outsource the West Coast ones. But at some point, they have to stop pretending that they have to, at some point, stop really believing that every team's going to be good. It must just be exhausting to hear endless optimism on every single trip. But we can go through, and I know you wrote some of this stuff, Bernsey, on gophergazette.com, kind of what their impressions were or what was shown. Usually it's like the most boring practice ever because, as we know, college football coaches, including the head coach at Minnesota, are paranoid about showing anything. So they worked on a lot of special teams, which I'm sure the TV audience loved. So tell me what we gleaned from the interview portion of the Big Ten Network stop.
Yeah, I watched the full thing when it aired at 5. So they were there on Monday. So 2 days after what is traditionally one of their bigger fall scrimmages, if not the bigger of the two. So it's nice of them to show up on the day after or 2 days after, first practice after, where they're probably not doing as much, probably not hitting as much. From the looks of it, didn't see much tackling going on Monday, which, as you said, to the surprise of absolutely no one. But it was interesting to kind of hear Revson, even in his tweets afterwards, too.
Yep.
Kind of echo kind of a lot of the things that we've been talking about on this program all offseason, which is, such as the offensive line. They've got a shot to be pretty dang good, where Nathan Roy going into his third year is a pretty good left tackle. You've got Greg Johnson, who's got a shot to be a day 2 draft pick. I think Ashton Beers, if he's healthy, has a shot to be a day 3 draft pick. And then the right side of the offensive line is still in works. So as much as it is, learning from those guys what they think, or even I think my favorite comment, Chip, was because it was the practice after the scrimmage, DiNardo had 2 takeaways. He goes, well, me as a former coach, I'm paraphrasing here, today may not have been the greatest day to come, and they also didn't throw the ball down the field too much today. And I'm just yeah, because it's probably the corrections practice after the scrimmage, which he even noted. So I was laughing at some of those things, but again, I also, and we'll get to, somebody tagged Guardsy in one of the tweets too, which we'll get to. But
oh, did he? I might have missed that one.
Did you have a chance to take a peek at Revson's tweets or watch it live on BTN, Chipper?
No, I saw none of it. As I said, I was checked out, and then yesterday, football across Minnesota is coming back this week. We're back, and there will be a Gopher player featured in football across Minnesota in week 2, which I'm excited about. Kind of shed some light on a player that you may have mentioned there, Bernsey. I'll keep it hush hush for now. But
no,
it's when they go to those practices, it's more to kind of get the messaging from PJ and their staff more than let's get a glimpse of what they're going to show us this year, because no coach is going to open up and show you much to the rest of the Big Ten and the rest of the world in those practices.
Yeah.
I did like how negative the board was on DiNardo, though. I mean, your board is just killing him. Your board is just like, he should retire. They need fresh blood. He hates Minnesota. PJ must not be for him. There was a lot of projecting because of a couple of comments. I just love fans so much. I'm not even saying they're wrong on some of that stuff, but it just cracked me up that it just was hijacked into a Jerry DiNardo hit piece on GopherGazette.com.
Well, it was just like some of the comments, and like you said, they're like in the meat of this thing, which I also don't understand how. I think today, as we record this, they're at Rutgers. It's like, who had them go from Minnesota to Rutgers other than, yeah, it's Minnesota East with the coaching staff of Kirk Shiraka and all those cats. But it's like a lot of because they saw a practice that wasn't probably as productive as what it would have been on Saturday, like they don't have as many impressions to say. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it was also just kind of interesting to hear Fleck and Harbaugh and Collins again say a lot of the things they've said to us here in the media, which is, we're going to have some freshmen play on offense, where I would tell you probably the top two guys at this point, because Zeke Bates, I mean, almost for me, because I'm a sicko, it's like I'm watching it, Guardsy, and I'm like, all right, who's not practicing? Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, well, Bennett Warren's still not practicing, who's Chip's Tennessee right tackle. Zeke Bates, who is a true freshman tailback that I expect to play if he was healthy, he's still not practicing. Hayden Moore was back, who missed the media practice that we were at last week, so that was good. So it's like, yeah, I think Hayden Moore is probably going to play as a true freshman on offense at receiver. I think Ryan Estrada, from what it sounds like, has really hit his stride here in the last week or so, which means he'll probably play against Eastern Illinois at tailback. And then on the defensive side, I am still fascinated by the way that Fleck and Collins continue to talk about Anthony Smith sliding inside. Mm-hmm. When here's the way I want to pose it to you guys is, if I had to set an over-under of Anthony Smith playing, I'll say 50 snaps at defensive tackle this fall, are you taking the over or the under?
For the season?
Yes.
Over.
Okay.
You're saying 50, that's 12 games, that's 4 a game. That's not that much.
But yeah. I'll get to why I'm where I'm at. But Guardsy, you taking the over or the under?
I'm going to take the under. This feels like one of those training camp. This feels like Coy Parrish is going to play on offense a lot. This isn't a gimmick type thing. That's what that feels like. To me, it feels like placate the player while we're in camp type thing. Now he'll probably slide in there somewhere. And again, 3 or 4 is probably a good number. Part of my thinking, Burnsy, is I agree with you. I think he should be playing fewer snaps in general this year. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm hoping that he's not playing. How you have the snap number. I know you've said it a million times. I just can't remember. I mean, he basically never left the field last year. It'd be helpful if he did from time to time this year to help out late in the game.
Exactly. That's where he played 671 snaps last year, most of any Big Ten defensive lineman on a per game basis. And last year, on 670 snaps, he only lined up inside per Pro Football Focus 28 times. So I'm not I think there's a world in which a couple of times a game you slide him inside on say it's 3rd and 8, and the worst offensive lineman for Mississippi State is at right guard. Okay, I'm going to put Anthony Smith on him. But it's like I'm with Guardsy, where I'm just like, I think he's going to play less snaps because he should, because you want to keep him healthy and fresh for October and November, because sources tell me those games still count the same as the ones in the first half of the schedule. But it's also, it feels like it does feel a little like Coy Parrish, where they continue to bring it up unprompted, Chip, and I'm just very, very skeptical that he plays more than 4 snaps a game there at the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be 12 in a game, but it's But we saw it, in the open practice, the first one we were allowed to come in that rush package. He was inside on that with when they had all of them out there. So you may see that 3 or 4 times a game. But he played too many snaps. He can't play that many. I mean, there's probably some diminishing returns in there if you're playing that many. But it's kind of like we always say with Kevin O'Connell in the run game. When you get in the heat of the battle, what do you trust? Like if they're in a close game and a game's up for grabs in the second half.
Yep.
Are you going to say, well, let's take Anthony Smith off the field and give him, because that one snap that he's on there might change the game. So you kind of go with, the guys that you trust. So him coming off the field depends on, do you trust the guys that you're putting in there to replace him?
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe they do now that you have more options with, either the portal or some of these guys. I want to go to the freshman conversation that you keep hearing though.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Ten is so good. I just wonder if you're really going to be able to rely on that many freshmen in the Big Ten when you're going against an 18-year-old going against a 22-year-old that's been in college football. I'm just curious to see really if that pans out the way that they envision it being, all these freshmen playing.
That is a great point, and it's one I was hoping we're going to get to, because again, I feel like every time I do a podcast now, Garzi, I just become Buzz Killington. Because I'm just like, for some of this, because that was one of the things that Fleck has kind of talked up here between media days and the media scrums here with us, the Jackals, is, they really like this freshman class, this 2026 true freshman class. And I believe them. And I think they're going to have some guys that are going to be all Big Ten guys down the line. And I think they can have some guys that are going to help them right away. But I think about like the Howie Johnson stuff, the Forest Lake 4-star kid. Do I think physically he looks like, it's the way it's supposed to look like? I do. But I also think there's a learning curve from going and playing against, I don't even know what conference, Chip, the Forest Lake is in now. Is it the Metro East?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Somebody's going to tell me that I'm wrong, and that, by the way, we should subscribe to stripvarsity.com.
I was going to say, let me get Strip Varsity pulled up here quick.
Yeah. But like, there's an acclimation process of playing as a true freshman. We saw it with Greg Johnson. Like, you can be very, very gifted, and you hope that you have other guys around them. That's where the easiest positions it's easy to play as a true freshman are running back and receiver, because you just have the juice, and like, you don't have to be necessarily, have to gain 12, 18, 24 months of strength and agility and yada, yada. It's where an Estrada or a Ryan Estrada or a Hayden Moore. Yeah. I can see them playing immediately against EIU. It's just, when Fleck is talking up Howie Johnson and Aiden H, and I'm even like Roman Voss, like the practice I was at last week, like Roman Voss really didn't get too much on his plate there in terms of meaningful reps. Now, it's not to say that, as I continue to try and put out there, like that Roman can't have a couple packages a game role where he's playing 8, 10, 12, 14 snaps. Maybe he's the wildcat guy if they have short yardage issues again, like they did last year with Darius Taylor out there. But like, I'm with you, Chip, where if you're a good Big Ten team, which I still think this team, to me, has the ingredients to be one of those teams that could make a run. Like, in that theory, you shouldn't be playing more than, say, 4 or 5 true freshmen to me.
No, because I think we saw it a little bit like with Jalen Smith last year, right? Mm-hmm. We saw him in fall camp, and he had these explosive plays. And you're like, okay, this guy's going to play right away, and he's going to be, a big part of it. And he had moments. I mean, obviously, at the end of the year, he had a big game, had some nice catches, but there's also some learning curve there, some drops, some, just freshman adjustment to the speed, to the physicality, to the demands, to harder schemes, to great coaching that they're going to face. I mean, really good players. So it's not a knock on them. And I'm not saying that they won't, but I just, I think sometimes we just get, oh man, they got these freshmen and they're going to play and they're going to be great. And it's like, well, there's also great talent in this. I mean, you just look at how good these teams are. It's not as easy as just saying, okay, go out there and contribute. And so, but they recruited a lot of high level talent, I think, in this class. I mean, when you look at it, I went to practice and I was blown away by some of these, just the physical nature and athleticism that you see on the field. But it just takes time sometimes, and that's probably just the reality. And so that's what the preseason is going to be, to figure out, like, okay, who can handle it, who needs, who's ready for this role, and who's okay. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and slow play this and let them develop a little bit more.
Yeah, I just want them to get to 2027 where it's like Andrew Trout and Gavin Meyer, the number one player, offensive line guys from the state of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Like, I think they can help Minnesota as early as next year, but they need a year. Like, you don't want to be playing them. Like Howie Johnson and Aiden Age, 2 4-stars on the defensive line. The early returns have been really good, I would say. Like, but I don't want them necessarily playing as true freshmen. So it's just trying to have them get older. And that's where, again, that's the whole patience aspect of this whole thing, where it's so difficult to do at times. I don't think it's going to, especially with 5 for 5 now, it's not going to prevent Minnesota from taking snaps away from, Roman Voss or whoever it may be, but it's just trying to say, like, especially for these kids who came in June, like Roman, like Estrada, like Howie Johnson, they didn't get that ramp up period of 6 months to really acclimate themselves. And I think, that's a huge part of this discussion too, is a lot of the guys that you would want to play, if they had been here since January, then they get they just inherently have a longer runway to figure it out a little bit more. So, that's one of the things as we get now 2.5 weeks away from the opener. It's like, I'm very curious to see, by the time we get to Washington, which of these true freshmen have indoctrinated themselves into the rotation, offense, defense, or special teams, which, again, Minnesota's looking for sparks all over the place, Guardsy.
Yeah, because they need to be more explosive on offense. That's what I would say. Whoever can help you on offense, that would be helpful. That would be very helpful.
I saw, I was there when Estrada had that big run at the end of the first practice we were at, and you can see his speed. And I know PJ's talked about him a couple times here in the last week. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets some run in some capacity, whether it's, offense, special teams, whatever. But hey, let me ask you, Bernsey, AJ Turner, how's he looked?
I think for a guy who had knee surgery 10 months ago, he's ahead of schedule. And he's not yet taking contact, which is very understandable. But from what I had heard all off season in terms of where he was at in his recovery, or even into fall camp here, the fact that he's going through individual drills and is dressed, I think is an accomplishment in itself. And that's where I'll continue to say for him, that's one of the things that I want every fan listening to this to keep in the back of your mind by the time we get to October is, they're going to need a set of fresh legs just for the running game, because everybody's going to have that many hits on them, and running back in itself is a very violent position. Well, if AJ Turner can return by hopefully by October, again, we'll see when he starts taking contact, the further away he gets from the knee surgery, the more speed and athleticism he's going to regain. That's just kind of how it goes. And considering he was one of the most explosive backs in the G5 back before Minnesota took him, I know the game was fast for him before he went down in Cal Berkeley. But I'm glad you brought him up, because I think as part of the running back discussion, I think he's a guy that the second half of the schedule, I'm hoping that there is a game where you can see, okay, AJ Turner broke off a 60-yard run for a touchdown, because he does have that game-changing type of speed. But it's just going to continue to take a little bit of time as he acclimates back, because you got to remember, he tore his knee out at Cal Berkeley. You got to let the knee settle down, get the inflammation going away before you can operate. So even when we get to October, he's going to be like freshly a year away from ACL surgery. And I know every year these kids somehow recover faster and faster and faster, just kind of the way it goes. But I am excited to see AJ Turner, because I know that there's people on the staff that have told me, like, this is a guy, once we get into October, November, remember him, because I know that he might not be ready for EIU, but as they continue to try and get that struggling running game off the ground, it's a name to certainly watch.
Bernsey, any last thoughts about the practice that you did see, the media practice, that Did we talk about that last week? I can't remember. Oh yeah, Chipper did. No, there was another one, right?
There was another
Or was
one.
there another one on Thursday? Yeah, because I get all confused with the emails because there's another one coming up on Thursday. I know that's the final one.
Correct.
What did you see at the practice you were able to make there on Friday, I believe?
So before I say that, Thursdays is at the stadium, Thursday night, 5:30, open to the public. Again, 5:30 p.m., Huntington Bank Stadium. For those of you who are thinking to yourselves, is it the OR one? It is the OR one. It's also Minnesota's hosting a school supply drive. So if you want to bring school supplies and drop them off before you enter, they will do that. Also, the 10 Gopher captains are going to sign autographs on the West Plaza for 30 minutes after the practice. So, I mean, literally your best players. So if you got kids and they have Anthony Smith or Drake Lindsay, Darius Taylor, whoever their favorite Gopher is, you can have them get some autographs afterwards. So I think that's a cool thing that they did.
It's a great
the
idea.
other thing I would take away from that practice is Minnesota's lone returner from this 5-for-5 or 2022 ruling that the Colorado judge has put out there has certainly sparked some backlash, not because of who he is as a person, but because his right leg was incredibly inconsistent for Minnesota last fall. And that's where Brady Denenberg is back with the team, Chipper. And I had somebody bring it to my attention that at the first media practice, he was there, but nobody noticed from the media, to which I say, hey, Mr. Beat Writer with the notepad, what the heck is going on over there, young man?
I knew he was there. I had somebody whisper it to me.
Well, Chip's keeping it under wraps.
Didn't make Chip's camp notes in last week's episode.
Yeah. But
Mr. Secrets.
Here's what I'll say. It's tough to not read into the tea leaves of Minnesota brings back the kicker who is 2 of 7 from 40, to which then Minnesota would tell me, because I had this discussion in practice with a staff member. Yeah, but he only missed 2 field goals from inside of 40 yards, to which I said, sure did. That's true. And also, if he's your kickoff guy, okay, he's got a huge leg, doesn't always know where it's going. But if you're just going to have the PJ Fleck mantra of we're just going to be top 3 in the Big Ten in touchback percentage for the 10th straight year, sure, we can do that. I hope that this doesn't mean, fellas, that the place kicking competition between football across Minnesota alum Daniel Jackson, second year out of Alexandria, and then the Daniel DePrado handpicked transfer in Beckham Sunderland, the pride of the MLS. I hope it doesn't mean that something is going awry there in the kicking competition to the point where Minnesota is electing to bring back Denenberg to be a serious competitor in it. At the practice I was at, I didn't see a single missed field goal, but it's one of those things where I just don't really necessarily care about the results in practice until you go see it in a game, especially if it's any of the three, because if it's Jackson or Sunderland, they've yet to attempt a field goal in a collegiate game. And if it's Denenberg, you've still got the bad taste in your mouth from last year, Chipper.
So I'm just kidding about that. I didn't know he was there. But is Denenberg, is he like, is that for sure he's back?
He's back until the Colorado judge versus the NCAA gives a definite opinion, if there is one. So that could be the other shoe that drops is, Mississippi State's got a couple of guys on the defensive side that are newly eligible because of this. Indiana's got some core rotation guys on the D-line. But Minnesota's only option that they could have brought back because of this ruling was Denenberg, and they chose to. So I don't know where
it's kind of in limbo, right? It's like limbo. He's not back, but I think you have to move on as if he's not back. And then if he, because you can't, what if the injunction or whatever falls through and then you're like, oh, we were counting on this guy and now we haven't prepared. So I think you move on just as if he's not here and find your kicker and then have the conversation at that point if it is cleared.
Yeah, I spent some time talking with a staff member about it where they are truly, from the perspective of a Big Ten team, sitting there kind of just taking it day by day to say, I don't know when the NCAA is going to actually know for sure if this injunction or is going to be eligible. If he's not, and again, if you're not, you just wash your hands and you walk away and you say, we tried. I would just say, what a precarious spot to be. If you're just Brady Denneberg in this instance, where like every day you don't know if you're going to be on the team the next day, or you might be, you might not be. And for a very mental position, I mean, he's got to be. He's just like, we're just out here kicking, you know.
Precarious for him, but even more precarious for the coaching staff because they need to find a kicker. They need to find a kicker, somebody they trust and rely, they can rely on. And so,
yeah, we'll see.
We want Daniel Carlson. We want Daniel Jackson to be riding roller coasters in his backyard, not being a roller coaster on the field.
That's it.
Is that fair to say?
That's very
By
good.
the way, Daniel DePrado, I texted Bernsey. I watched the press conferences from after the practice the other day.
Yeah.
You have to just love the intensity, Bernsey, of DePrado. Basically like, hey, it's out of our control. Hang time, kick distance. Sometimes we just got to catch it. The ball's the program. He goes, but when we get opportunities, we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready. I mean, he was like, I was ready to go return for the guy. You must. Yep. I love this dude. Literally, I couldn't have picked him out of a lineup, next to you two until 2 days ago. But I watched his entire press conference. I'm like, oh, Burnsy's gonna like this guy. This guy's aggressive. This guy wants to make sure if there's an opportunity that they maximize it. And how long has Bernsey been talking about that? Obviously, it's a press conference, but I liked, like, it seems like he loves special teams. He loves his job, and he loves his role, Bernsey. You have to be elated at what you're hearing.
And, I mean, the results have spoken for themselves at his last couple of stops. I think that's what has me cited the most. I'm big, I hear what you say, trust what you do type of guy. But when you get him in a press conference, it is, I mean, he comes across very smart. To, again, knowing that, again, when I'm asking him, I think the question verbatim I asked him is, how do you quantify a successful kicking game? I mean, I think it's an interesting question as we've gone through on this podcast for years now, how they've struggled there. So how do you quantify it, special teams coordinator? And he starts to get into how the statistics bear out, where if you have an elite snap, quote unquote, an elite hold, that the chances of that kick going through the uprights obviously exponentially skyrocket. Where if you have a poor snap or a poor hold, then it just falls off a cliff. I mean, it's simple things like that where to someone like myself, which isn't the most elite of football minds, I can understand he pick up what he's putting down. So it's also listening to him in the return game saying, as you noted, some of the times we just got to catch the punt, boys. We just got to take, we can't control what the ball is that comes off their foot. Like, you have to be in the right area, but sometimes you got to run up on it and just take the fair catch so it doesn't roll for an additional 15, 20 yards. Or if it goes over our head, you got to know, where you are in terms of spatial awareness. If you're at the 10-yard line, you don't go back to the 3 to fair catch it. So it's stuff like that. Now, again, I want to see it bear out. And I even asked him because I'm curious. I mean, it comes with the gig. Who's returning? Because that's one of the things where Coy Parrish is gone. They haven't really showed us a single special teams moment outside of kicking. And he's like, I'm going to defer to Coach Fleck on all personnel decisions. We're in mid-season form, ladies and gentlemen. Mid-season form.
He read the manual. Yeah. He definitely read the manual. All right, we're going to pause here. We're going to come back and talk about some NIL stuff and some 247 reporting on who's got money, who maybe doesn't. I have to apologize to both of you guys and the audience because I was distracted for the last 20 minutes or so. And Chip, you can deal with this when the podcast is done, but I needed more information on this legs up the wall thing. And so I texted Chip's wife, Amy, and she's like, oh yeah, it's easy to describe. And she sent me this picture of Chip on the North Shore doing legs on the wall. If you're on YouTube, you can see it here. She kind of sent me, I mean, it looks amazing. We've got the sunset. I don't know what beach that is, Chip, but it looks beautiful. I don't know if that's Artist Point in Grand Marais. You really went all out with the Tennessee stuff. So anyway, for people that are watching the YouTube channel, maybe check it out. But I'm sorry because I wanted to just you had me spinning, legs on the wall, and so I had to
It's
make sure
genius.
that
How
I
do you do that?
knew exactly. You missed your Chat GPT meeting. I can tell at the Star Tribune. You weren't writing notes. It is amazing what you can do. But man, Chips, you're not skipping leg day. I can tell that from the picture. You're not skipping leg day.
Outstanding.
So anyway, check out the YouTube channel if you want to know what we're talking about. And apologies to you guys because I have no idea what we talked about for the last 20 minutes.
He's checked out. He was doing.
Yeah,
He's like, AI.
I was sending instructions to Chat GPT. All right, let's pause quickly and talk about our great partner at Jack's Cafe, jaxcafe.com to make your reservation. Still plenty of time to take in a great brunch on the beautiful patio with the bubbling brook that Bernsey loves so much. You can go sit at the Bernsey table, kind of isolated back there in the back, get some privacy, get some serenity. It's phenomenal. So brunch is great, lunch is great, dinner is great, happy hour is great. If you want to just go watch a couple of games up at the bar, they've been around for decades after decades after decades. We read their menu a few weeks ago from when they opened up. It's just a tremendous place. They've been a great partner. Steak, seafood, great dessert, and as Chip knows, great parking. You want to be like this guy right here, just feeling no stress in the world. Just roll into that big, beautiful parking lot and pull that car in, Chip.
That's I give this reminder every so often, and I'll do it again today. Parking is critical to me, and I think a lot of people out there. When you go and you're going out to dinner, do you want to have to drive around for 30 minutes? Happened to me a couple weeks ago. I'm going downtown for dinner, and that Bananas team was in town, and I hit right at the same time they were about to start. I could not find parking. 30 minutes, but we were meeting someone, so I just had to keep circling. If we went to Jack's, that's not happening. I'd have pulled in. There's a spot there. I'd have been inside. No stress, no worry. Like, oh, where are we going to park? Oh, we're going to be late. You pull right in that parking lot. There's always a spot, the biggest parking lot you can imagine for a restaurant. It's a beautiful thing. It removes some of the stress that you have when you're going out for dinner.
I can't get that Bananas team. Do you?
It's the best.
What?
Do you know?
Savannah Banana thing.
I can't. Yeah, it's I'm all thrown off guard. You take me home.
jaxcafe.com, jaxcafe.com. Support those that support us, and they've supported us for many, many years. I'm sure we'll have ticket giveaways as we go. Bill loves when you guys go in there. When you make a reservation, let him know that you're a Parent of Spare audience member, and he will take great care of you, even if you don't. That's the beauty of it. There's no special treatment because everybody gets treated amazingly well at Jack's Cafe. Make your reservations at jaxcafe.com. Bernsey, a lot of speculation and a lot of clouds forming. There was a little bit of a brush fire, it sounds like, because of some reporting that 247 Sports did about how much all these football teams are paying their respective players. And money, obviously, is the number one thing in college sports right now, has been for a while. And every coach is trying to figure out where they stack up against their competition because that's who they're charged with beating, as we know. Take us through this a little bit because I know this got some people talking on the record, off the record, to you and others on where Minnesota might stand and what we learned about the Big Ten.
Yeah, my brethren there at 247, I think it was Chris Hummer and John Talty were the two that went down to the 2026 personnel conference, which is essentially all of the college football GMs, directors of players personnel, recruiting staffs. They all go down, be all hunky-dory. And one of the topics that these media fellas were asking around about is how much do you think everyone else is spending? And that's where they asked upwards of 50 different personnel folks in the space. Now, again, it's essentially hot goss. It's the tea because no one really knows as much about what everybody is spending. But why it got so much run is they defined it in their article into tiers. Now, if you want to read it specifically, you can head to my Twitter and you can find all the different tiers here. But essentially, you've got the over 40 million tier, which according to their sources is Oregon and Ohio State. That's nothing we didn't already know. Two of the biggest, highest spenders in the sport. You've got the over 30 million, which is Indiana, Michigan, Nebraska, USC, and Wisconsin is in that tier, which I am a little skeptical that Wisconsin's over 30 million on their roster. Maybe, but I think that's very arbitrary if I'm thinking they're at 28, and for the purposes of this article, they're at 30. I'd also have Indiana and Michigan a lot closer to 40 than 30, but again, just my speculation. And then we get into the under 20 category, which got my phone lines ringing here in the last 24 hours, which includes Minnesota, Purdue, and Northwestern. And that really certainly irks some Gopher fans. And here's what I'll say is I know what it's like, just like you guys do, with trying to get information at times out of football staffers or people who would know stuff about how much Minnesota is actually spending on their roster, and it is Fort Knox. And I would say that I don't believe they're under 20 million because you have, with the rev share thing, I think Minnesota's paying like 14 to 15 million, when that would imply that Dinkytown Athletes is only $4 or $5 million, which I'm skeptical of that nature. But the thing that it was posed to me yesterday, after some, I'll say, higher profile people read the article and then gave me a ring, was the difference between like school 7 or 8 in the Big Ten and school 17 or 18 in the Big Ten is not that different. Where in the purposes of this article, that would indicate to you that'd be a difference of $10+ million. And I had multiple sources reach out and say, it's not that big. It's not that vast. We're not, necessarily saying that, it's not $5 million difference or an $8 million difference, but it's not that different in terms of what Minnesota is paying for a guy versus, say, Michigan State is paying for a guy, or even Wisconsin. And so I think that is one of my takeaways in terms of trying to then dig further into it, because I didn't know it was coming, which I then explained to the folks I was on the phone with, and they didn't believe me, and that's here nor there. But
you get blamed for everything that's written on any. Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah, I know how that goes. So Chip knows how that goes. You get blamed for
very well.
You get blamed for stuff because we have a team meeting every morning at KFAN, and someone goes, "Hey, I'm going to rip PJ today." I go, "Yeah, you do that." And here's some things. Yeah, I get that. Yep, we get blamed for things we don't even do. I love that part of it. I love it.
So I will say I don't believe Minnesota's under $20 million for this roster. But I would also say I don't think they're above, say, 25. But I think the point to make here, Chip, is like, yeah, Ohio State and Oregon, and I would say Indiana, Penn State. I mean, those teams to me are certainly 8 figures above Minnesota, but that's nothing new that we already didn't exactly know,
No, the thing is, and I talked to Jeremiah Carter about this, who's on Mark Coyle's leadership staff, when I did that, and we talked about a few weeks ago about the analytics. They work in the industry, and this is still guesswork, some of it, because you have no idea what other schools are doing. Now, I think it's pretty safe to say, no one's ever confirmed this, but I don't think I'm going out on a far limb, and I think you guys would probably agree that, at least in the Big Ten and SEC, I think pretty much every school is given 75% of rev share to football. I think that's a fair number. So if you do that, and it's 21.3 million, who's the math major here in the group? Is that what, 15 million? 75% of 21?
Yep.
Yeah, 15 million. You can't tell me they don't have more than 5 million in NIL for the entire roster. I think they're over 20. If I was to guess, I would probably say that they're 8 to 10 million in NIL. I could be wildly off on that, but I think 25 million is probably, if I was to guess, if someone said, "What do you think it is?" I'd say that's about right. But I agree. I think there's 5 schools that are, are going to be dramatically different. And then probably 1 or 2 that are way under. And then everybody else were within $1 million, $3 million. So I don't think that there's this huge disadvantage. And what Jeremiah has stressed repeatedly is that they have really poured into retention. Yes, Coy got probably double the money to go to Oregon. Can't do much about that. But they have elevated to the point where they're competitive with peers and that they can retain their best talent. You can't tell me Anthony Smith couldn't have gone. And it's not just the money, because it's culture and all those things too. Anthony Smith could have gone and made more money elsewhere. Absolutely could have. Drake Lindsay could have. Probably Darius Taylor could have. But they wanted to stay here and play. And so that's where I think that point is important. That it's yes, money, maybe 90% of it. I don't know in kids' minds, but there's more to it than that. And I do agree with what PJ says, that culture and the vibe and guys wanting to be here matters. But it's interesting. I asked PJ about this on the opening day of camp, about the idea of $40 and $50 million rosters in college football. And I legitimately think that there are some probably teams that are close to 50 million.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's not like the NFL where everybody has to work on the same salary cap. So there are probably programs in this conference that spend twice as much on their roster than the Gophers do, or close to it, to it. Maybe not.
But it's been that way for 50 years is kind of my counter to it. Like you don't think Ohio State and Michigan already had that? And I think one of the under talked about parts of the $40 million rosters is it's not necessarily the starters. Now, hear me out on this, okay? It's not necessarily the starters. Yeah, you can go out and buy a starter, but it's also going and spending $600,000 to get a guy that if you have an injury on the offensive line, well, guess what? You don't fall off a cliff at that position like we've seen some other teams do. Like, you can go buy depth, which was the whole point of, like, say 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you think about those great Saban teams or those great Ohio State teams where they just had 4 or 5 stars riding the bench. Like, well, the portal changed it. And that's where the $40-50 million aspect of it is those guys are just getting paid to be depth. And a couple, say 4, 6, 8 teams can do that with the salaries that they have. But that's where, to me, those are the teams that just have depth, which is a very hard thing to find, because you can go out to the portal and get guys that, again, can be impact guys for you, like a TJ Bush. But to have double the salary means, to me, you can have double the depth, which you get into October and November is a very underrated part of this sport now, because of the portal has spread out, to me, all of the talent in a way that we haven't seen. But the salaries of these big rosters can condense it a little bit to where, like I said, if you have an injury for those big spending teams, in theory, you're not going to see yourself drop off a cliff as much, which then in turn increases your chances of the playoff.
And how much of it too, Burnsy, is when you have those $40-50 million rosters, not only are you spending it on a portal, well, a 5-star kid is going to cost you a lot of money too. So the income and talent, that's where it's probably a lot of that's probably where that difference is. Not only you retaining, but if you're recruiting 5-star kids across the board, well, that's expensive, right? That's going to cost you a lot of money too.
Yeah, because that's where everybody, Bob's your uncle and he's now your agent too for some of these kids now coming out of the high school ranks, and they all want, again, I have heard stories in this 2027 recruiting cycle. So kids that will be seniors here within a few weeks' time, where if they're a 5-star kid, there is they could be signing a multi-year deal in the millions, which I have some issues giving a teenager millions when he hasn't played a single college football snap yet. I know he may look like Tarzan or whatever it may be, but that's just kind of the way it's gone. But yeah, that's where you see if there's a 5-star guy, Chipper, I can guarantee you he is worth at least 500,000, if not more. But that's where, again, you get to have the clay that looks like it's going to be playing on Sundays at that aspect. So again, with the whole Gopher aspect of the bit, I think the people within the personnel industry are kind of underselling Minnesota a little bit. But I also think it's interesting to kind of go up and down the list, because it's also kind of just looking at it matches up with like who in the Big Ten just generates the most revenue. Mm-hmm. Or they spend the most, I should say too, which is maybe the more important thing. Cause I have up here, like the 2025 fiscal year, it's where like, okay, well, on this personnel list for college football rosters, Rutgers is above Minnesota. And you're thinking, so that doesn't make sense. until you remember Rutgers is lighting $50 million a year on fire within their athletic department, or even, UCLA is above Minnesota, the same thing. So I know that when it initially came out, it looks horrific, and I'm not trying to spin PR for the U. I just think the context within, if it is truly everybody is, team 7 through 18 within the Big Ten are within $6-8 million of one another, you're all still competing for the same players then at the end of the day. So then I just, as you pointed out too, Chipper, with retention, it's one of those things where, Coy wanted to go chase a title, and Minnesota had a very lucrative offer on the table for Coy Parrish to remain at the University of Minnesota. Do I think he still got paid more by Oregon? Yes. Do I think the primary reason he left the University of Minnesota was because of money? No. I think he wants to go win a title, which he believes he can go do at Oregon and not at Minnesota, which is a statement in and of itself.
Interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. Anything else, guys, in our final minute or two you want to put a bow on? We'll be back next week at some point. Mr. Project's over here. I'm going to be out of town next week. We're going to have to figure out next week.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay. I'm still appalled that, Chip, do you know the first name of your Bananas team, who is arguably
Savannah Bananas?
fastest?
Yeah.
I was about to say.
That banana team.
It was slipped my mind at the moment when I was saying it, but Savannah Bananas, yeah, I like them. I like their. I
was about to
say
they
are fascinating. I didn't go to the game. I tried to watch a little bit on TV, but I find it fascinating. The phenomena. I love phenomena.
Crazy. Yep.
That they're selling out not just baseball thing, football. I saw they were in a football stadium selling out. However many people.
They sold out Neyland. They sold out your stadium. They played at Neyland. Yeah.
God bless them. I give those guys credit for doing something that people clearly have an appetite for.
They're just printing money all day at those things.
Crazy.
The block party, the concert, the apparel. They're just printing.
Great
money.
For them.
We went to a couple of Lynx games that weekend, and so we were down there about the same time, and the plaza was packed the entire time.
Yeah. I couldn't find a spot
going on or not. Yeah.
I drove around for 30 minutes. My normal rule is 2 trips and I'm heading home for grilled cheese, but I couldn't do it this time. But I could not find a spot. I had to park like a mile away.
Did you have to do extra legs up the wall that night?
Oh, goodness.
I just found this like in the last week, and it's changed my life. I'm telling you, legs up the wall. Is it legs up the wall or legs on the wall? I can't. It's a pose. It's a yoga pose.
Legs up the wall is what the Google gave me. Legs up the wall.
Just an all-time. This is one of those that, Chip, this is an all-timer performance. It's one I'm going to remember for a very long time. How would you teach
me how to do this? Because this is outstanding.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I only do the free one. I tried to make another graphic of you mad about the parking at Savannah Bananas, but I've used all my bits, so I didn't want to upgrade for $20 a month, and you're not going to want to either because you have to give them your credit card information. So I didn't want to do that on the fly.
That's not happening.
I mean, I'm all about the bit, but I don't know if the bit's worth $20 a month for me to do extra graphics of you. Not at this point. Not at this point. Maybe when these Gopher checks start rolling in, I'll be a little less frugal. But there he is. There he is. Mr. 100% right there. Legs up the wall. Burnsy, anything else?
I'm glad I was here for the Chip Scoggins, the Bananas, the legs on the wall game. It's an all-time performance from our favorite Star Tribune man.
It really is. If this doesn't make you subscribe, I don't know what does. If this doesn't make you want to tell a friend that we're here every single week, I don't know what will. But please hit subscribe on your way out of the audio. Please visit the YouTube channel. I'm sure a lot of you have gone to the YouTube channel to check out the picture that we're talking about. It's breathtaking. The entire scene is breathtaking. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll do some giveaways there as the season goes along as well. And thanks, as always, to our great partners at Jack's Cafe. Make your reservations at jackscafe.com, and we will talk to you next week on the Parent and Spare podcast.